I never thought it would come to this. Me, handcuffed in my own driveway, my neighbors peeking through their curtains, too scared to help. Two officers with shiny badges dragged me toward their squad car, yelling about unpaid HOA fines and property destruction. The smell of burnt barbecue sauce mixed with the taste of raw anger as my Saturday cookout turned into a public spectacle. And here's the kicker, something you won't believe. I'm Chief Garrett Blackwood, 12 years running this town's police department. These weren't real cops. No, they were hired actors with phony badges sent by none other than my HOA president, the woman who had just made the biggest mistake of her life. But I didn't reveal who I was. Instead, I played the part of a helpless victim, because sometimes the sweetest revenge is letting the criminals dig their own grave. Let me ask you, what would you do if fake cops showed up at your door? Let me take you back and explain how this whole mess started. 6 months ago, I was a broken man, trying to rebuild my life in Willowbrook Estates, a perfect, gated community where even the fire hydrants looked too polished. I moved here after cancer had stolen my wife Marina, piece by piece, over 18 brutal months. She passed away with real estate magazines in her hands, dreaming of a life that we'd never get to live. I used her life insurance to buy this place, the house she always wanted. 23 years of marriage, reduced to a down payment on her final wish. The only light left in my life was our daughter, Sage. She came to visit on weekends, and we spent our time in the garage restoring a 1967 Mustang that Marina had loved. The smell of motor oil mixed with Sage's vanilla perfume as we worked on the car, listening to classic rock. Those were the only moments I felt like I could breathe again. Then came the HOA. I should have seen it coming. Day 3 in this supposed paradise, I got hit with 3 violation notices. Grass too tall by 0.2 inches, a mailbox that wasn't the right shade of black, and garbage cans visible for 4 minutes past pickup. For minutes. I timed it with my police stopwatch. And no, it wasn't a prank. It was real. It was only the beginning. And then I met Cordelia Pimpinhays. Imagine a woman so cold she could make a funeral director seem warm. Silver hair pulled back in a bun tighter than her smile, eyes sharper than a knife. Her white Mercedes SUV cruised the streets like a squad car. It was clear she ran this little community with her vanity plates reminding everyone that rules applied to them, except apparently her. The first real fight came at an HOA meeting. I asked about a $500 fine for doing basic car maintenance in my own driveway. And Cordelia, with a voice that could freeze water, replied, "Perhaps you don't grasp property standards here." 24 neighbors turned their eyes to the ground, not daring to make eye contact. I realized they weren't homeowners. They were hostages paying mortgages to their captor. Then Mrs. Chun, the sweet old woman across the street, whispered something that made my blood run cold. Cordelia had systematically destroyed 2 families, pushing them into foreclosure over made-up violations. She wasn't just managing a community. She was running a legal theft ring. That's when I realized Cordelia had made the fatal mistake of threatening the wrong family. I wasn't going down without a fight. Over the next week, every morning felt like Christmas from hell. Fresh violation notices showed up on my door. My truck parked 6 inches too far left in my own driveway, $200 fine. Porch light bulbs 60 watts instead of 40 watts, $300 fine. Garden hose coiled the wrong way, $500 fine. And it wasn't just about the fines. It was the absurdity. I had been dealing with real crime, armed robberies, domestic violence. And I'd come home to find parking tickets on my own personal truck for looking too workmanlike. But on Tuesday morning, I saw something that shattered the illusion of suburban peace. Golf carts. No, not normal golf carts. Miniature patrol vehicles with flashing amber lights. The electric hum of their motors cut through the still morning as uniformed figures photographed houses with military precision. My detective instincts kicked in. This wasn't random. This was organized surveillance. Cordelia had hired her own private compliance patrol, a group of non-police officers who were out there with cameras, making up violations from thin air. I grabbed my binoculars, watching from behind my kitchen curtains. My suspicions were confirmed. Cordelia had created her own private police force, completely unauthorized, with no legal right to do anything. I dove into state law and discovered something that made my blood boil. Every violation notice had a $75 processing fee, but the law said administrative costs were capped at $1.25 per notice. Cordelia was charging residents 300% more than what was legal, systematically overcharging hundreds of families in our community. It wasn't just neighborhood management, it was fraud, pure and simple. Sage noticed my stress as we worked on the Mustang. "Dad, why don't you just arrest her?" she asked, wiping grease from her hands. I told her I couldn't abuse my position. But then she asked, what if she's actually breaking the law? That seed she planted grew overnight. What if she was committing crimes? And that's when I launched my counterattack. I filed complaints with the state attorney general about financial irregularities, contacted city permits about Cordelia's golf cart patrols, and began raising awareness in the community. But Cordelia wasn't going to back down easily. She started following me, randomly appearing at the end of my driveway, watching me like a hawk. But it was when Mrs. Chun came to me, her voice quivering with barely contained rage, that everything clicked. "They charged me $2,000 for Harold's memorial garden," she said. She'd been paying for roses her husband planted, now at risk of being destroyed. That was it. Cordelia wasn't just pushing around the vulnerable. She was preying on them. The elderly, the grieving, anyone she thought she could push over. That's when I knew what had to be done. I started building a federal case. Sage helped me with evidence, and we discovered Cordelia had fabricated rules that didn't even exist in the official HOA documents. My investigation turned into something big, something that couldn't be ignored. I was no longer a grieving man, trying to rebuild my life. I was leading an investigation into a criminal empire masquerading as a neighborhood. And the most shocking twist came when I discovered Cordelia's real motives. She'd infiltrated HOA boards across 3 counties, using her position to embezzle money, seize homes through fraudulent foreclosures, and create a real estate empire built on stolen property. But as she escalated her tactics, so did my fight. I partnered with Mrs. Chun, a retired federal prosecutor who had been documenting Cordelia's crimes for months. We had the evidence, the legal know-how, and the support of the entire community. And when Cordelia made one last move, threatening to seize my property, I knew it was time to end this nightmare. We set a trap. I played the helpless victim, while federal agents waited in the wings. When the fake cops showed up to arrest me, they had no idea what was coming. I gave the signal, and the world exploded into real law enforcement action. The fake cops were surrounded, and Cordelia was arrested in front of her own neighborhood. The neighborhood erupted in celebration. Residents who had lived in fear for so long finally saw justice. Cordelia's reign of terror was over. She was sentenced to federal prison for wire fraud, impersonating law enforcement, and a slew of other charges. Her criminal empire, built on lies and extortion, was dismantled. But the best part? We turned this nightmare into something beautiful. The community came together. We restored trust, replaced fear with laughter, and even started a scholarship fund in Marina's name. The neighborhood I had bought to honor my wife's memory had transformed into a place where families could finally live without fear. And the last thing Cordelia saw before they loaded her into the police car? The community she had terrorized, standing united, stronger than ever. So, here's my question for you. Have you ever faced a situation like this where the system seemed stacked against you? What did you do? Share your thoughts below. I'd love to hear your story. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because next week, I'm sharing a story about a homeowner who turned a neighbor's illegal Airbnb empire into a federal tax evasion case. You won't want to miss it.